Tonight, a family pleads for help from the province as unclaimed bodies continue to be stored in freezers at the Health Sciences Centre.
It hurts really bad because, like I said, I don't have the funds. If they're going to do this to me, don't play head games with me. Just tell me.
Plus, the owners of the Come By Chance Refinery and a subcontractor face numerous charges related to a fatal explosion and flash fire.
Land's been put aside for a sixth company that wants to build a wind farm in this province. This one has deep roots in the traditional energy business.
Renewable energy opportunities in an area where they are known and they've been working in these types of environments for years. This is something that they desire, that they want to see. So this is a good day for that area.
I'll tell you more coming up on Here and Now.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. It's a story we've been covering for months. Dozens of bodies are still being stored in freezer units at the province's largest hospital. One grieving mother says she has no choice but to leave her daughter's remains there because she can't afford the high cost of a funeral. Elizabeth Whitten has that story.
Janice Strickland misses her daughter. She died earlier this month. The grieving is made worse because Strickland can't afford a funeral. So Sarah's body is stored in a freezer unit in a hospital parking garage.
I never thought that I would have to save to bury my own daughter.
The problem of unclaimed bodies in the province is growing. In March, CBC News first reported as many as 28 bodies are in storage at the Health Sciences Centre in St. John's. Back then, the freezers were next to dumpsters in a loading bay. Now they're here, moved into the hospital underground garage. That leaves grieving families stuck. Janice Strickland is facing a $4,000 bill to cremate her daughter, money she doesn't have.
I called social services and I explained to them that my daughter had just passed and that I was needing help for a funeral because I'm not working right now.
Strickland should be eligible for about half those costs, $2,300, in provincial government assistance. But because her family started an online fundraiser, she's been told she no longer qualifies.
I'm asking myself, they're willing to give me $2,300, which is not enough to bury my daughter. How am I going to get the rest of it?
The health minister hints at an increase in financial assistance for funerals.
So that will obviously give them comfort, give them a level of closure, and of course make hopefully the freezers unnecessary at the Health Sciences Centre.
CBC News has repeatedly asked Children's, Seniors and Social Development Minister Paul Pike for an interview. He has not been available to answer questions about funeral costs and freezers. Meanwhile, the PC opposition says it's embarrassing.
NDP leader Jim Dinh calls it outrageous. The government has known about the growing number of unclaimed bodies for years.
They've done nothing. Instead, we have another tragic story of a mother, in this case, looking to bury her daughter and unable to do so, and penalized if for just trying to come up with the extra money not provided by government to do that, to provide her daughter with a dignified funeral. That to me is pure callousness on the part of government.
In the meantime, Strickland is left waiting and just wants to bury her daughter.
Let her be on her own now. Give her that opportunity to just rest. Like I said, if I have to, I'll take her ashes. I have no problem with that. I'll take her home with me. I just want it to be over.
Elizabeth Whitten, CBC News, St. John's.
Now, we do have an update on this story. Late this afternoon, the Strickland family posted that their online fundraiser has now raised more than $10,000. They say they have more than enough to give Sarah a proper burial, and they're ending the fundraiser. In other news, nearly 2 years after a fatal explosion and flash fire at the Come By Chance refinery, more than a dozen occupational health and safety charges have been laid. Rob Antle reports.
This was the scene nearly 2 years ago. A frantic rush to hospital for 8 workers seriously injured in an explosion at the Come By Chance refinery. One of them, Sean Peddle, later died.
It's a lot of stress and pain today. I spoke to the families. As you see, I have a picture of Sean and his family here. A lot of emotions, a lot of anger, and the answers are not all there yet, but OH&S got their job done.
That job saw occupational health and safety charges laid against 2 companies, 11 for the refinery's owner, Brea Renewable Fuels, 3 for a contractor, Lorneville Mechanical. A step in the right direction, according to the union representing workers at the refinery.
This needs to stop. When you go to work, you want to go home at the end of the day. And this OH&S is one part of what the steel workers are pushing. Our next step is to push for an inquiry.
And the inquiry will bring out the failures so it doesn't happen again.
In a statement emailed to CBC News, Brea Renewable Fuels called this a difficult time for everyone at the refinery, including the friends and family of all those impacted by the incident, adding, Brea Renewable Fuels has stringent safety practices in place as part of our commitment to the health and well-being of our employees, our community, and all those who visit our site. We are always open to learning how we can maintain a safe and welcoming space for everyone. Meanwhile, the RCMP says they're still investigating what happened. No criminal charges have been laid.
We believe that if a worker is killed and it's at the fault of the employer, that the employer needs to go to jail.
One investigation still underway, another concluded. As for those occupational health and safety charges, the first court appearance is scheduled for next month. Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
Still with court news, a Gander man is facing multiple impaired driving charges after 2 people were killed and 2 others were injured in a head-on collision. Nicholas Villeneuve pleaded guilty to one of those charges in a Gander courtroom today. The CBC's Troy Turner was there.
Nicholas Villeneuve was not in court today, so his lawyer entered that single guilty plea on his behalf, and the Crown Attorney expects more guilty pleas to follow. All of this about 6 years after that fatal crash. One early morning in the summer of 2018, Villeneuve was driving his pickup truck on the TCH just west of Gander when he collided with an SUV. John and Sandra Lush of Lewisport, who were in the SUV, died at the scene. Their daughter, Suzanne, and her boyfriend, Josh Whiteway, passengers in the SUV, were seriously injured in the crash. Whiteway was left partially paralyzed. In the aftermath, Villeneuve was charged with 2 counts each of impaired driving causing death, dangerous driving causing death, impaired driving causing bodily harm, and dangerous driving causing bodily harm. Before the matter made it to trial, his defense attorney, Rosellen Sullivan, filed an application claiming the police violated Villeneuve's rights. Judge Mark Linehan agreed and threw the matter out. In February of 2021, Villeneuve walked away a free man. The Crown appealed Linehan's decision, and the appeal court agreed. In May of last year, a retrial was ordered. The matter has been making its way through Gander courts since then. Today, a single guilty plea was entered, and a pre-sentence report is now ordered. Villeneuve is expected to be back in Gander court in November. Troy Turner, CBC News, Gander.
As violence sweeps their home country, Bangladeshi students in St. John's are facing another crisis: looming tuition payments. Protests in Bangladesh have cut off some students here from friends, family, and financial support. And the new semester is right around the corner. CBC's Arlette Lazarenko has the story.
Qazi Muhammad Abrar is worried sick about his family back in Bangladesh. And now another worry, paying for his education.
My family is my sponsor, my primary sponsor, and so they cannot have access to the bank right now because it's not really safe to go outside.
Tuition payments for Memorial University students are due in about a week, But right now, because of the unrest back home, Abrar and other Bangladeshi students aren't able to access their money.
Some parts of the country has got the internet back today, but not everyone has access to it, and my family definitely does not have access to it, and I'm not being able to contact and communicate about my tuitions or anything with them.
Bangladesh is in chaos following student protests about unfair government job quotas. That has led to an eruption of violence and a nationwide internet blackout. Back here, with the stress of student life, Arbar says students are asking the university for a little understanding.
I'm not being able to focus on my finals or my final papers. The only request that I would have for us is that MUN to be a little more flexible with our deadlines, with our finals, so that we get proper deferral, a little bit more flexibility for deferring our exams and our final paper submissions and deadlines.
And he isn't the only one.
It's nearly impossible to work part-time and manage the entire sum for our tuition fees. Now, with the banks being closed for the last 6 days, there's no way to commute. And from home to bank as well, it is extremely tough to get money, to get funds from back home. At least allow us to register. Once the situation gets back to normal, we can definitely get funds from home.
Memorial University says they are, quote, working to identify potential solutions, end quote. The university says students can avail of emergency financial support, which includes short-term loans and emergency bursaries. But for now, that isn't enough.
As much as I appreciate the support, it's more like a band-aid on a bullet hole. So we would want a more concrete solution.
In the meantime, as they wait to see what the school will do, Bangladeshi students organized another protest here at MUN's Clock Tower, protesting in solidarity with students in Bangladesh. Arlette Lazarenko, CBC News, St. John's.
Most of the day today, pretty beautiful out there. We're starting to see some of that high cloud move in as expected, but it is bringing some showers thanks to an area of low pressure just to the south there of Nova Scotia. And most of the showers not too significant at the moment, and they shouldn't be over the next few hours either. We do have some showers up across Labrador as well, at least Lab West, but there's a look at them. They may not even be making it to the ground at this point, but they are there, and you may see a few sprinkles over the next couple of hours. As far as the weather goes, a little cooler today in some cases, but as we head through tomorrow, we are going to see those temperatures really start to climb through parts of central, peaking across the province as we get into Thursday, especially across Labrador. We will see a bit of a cool down, though, as we get into Friday, and then through the weekend, those temperatures really warming up yet again. By Sunday, talking about significant warmth up across parts of Labrador and parts of central Newfoundland. I'll get into all the details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the province has a new government department, the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions. The portfolio was announced during Friday's provincial cabinet shuffle, but the opposition says a new minister will complicate access to mental health services. Jenna Head has that story.
I, John Gerard Abbott, do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that I will well and truly serve His Majesty King Charles III in the office of Minister of Housing and Minister of Mental Health and Addictions.
This is the moment Newfoundland and Labrador got its first Minister of Mental Health and Addictions. John Abbott was sworn into the position on Friday. The province is now the 8th in Canada to introduce a minister dedicated to the portfolio. But both of the province's opposition leaders question Premier Andrew Furey's decision. They say he's created another layer of bureaucracy, something they feel won't help people struggling to access mental health or addiction services.
Creating more bureaucracy simply doesn't appear to be what you ought to be looking at. It's about putting more resources in so people can get the direct help that they need.
If you look at even the health accord, mental health and physical health are interconnected. So the fact that the Premier has now separated those two, I can't help but think it's going to create a lot more bureaucratic slowdown.
After last week's cabinet shuffle, Abbott is responsible for 2 new portfolios: housing, which was introduced in February, and now mental health and addiction. The opposition is wondering why Fury made the decision and whether or not Abbott is fit for the job.
It's like taking a deck of cards, reshuffling your card and hoping you get a better hand. Because at the end of the day, what we've seen is a premier who obviously lost confidence in his ministers and their portfolios.
You have a minister who only a little while ago evicted people from Tent City without any real options, housing options. So it causes me concern here as to what government is about and what the rationale is in making those decisions.
CBC News has reached out to Abbott. It is expected that he will be available later this week to talk about his new roles. Jenna Head, CBC News, St. John's.
North Atlantic Refineries is proposing a multi-billion-dollar project to transition away from burning fossil fuels. The company's announcement comes after the province agreed to reserve more than 100 square kilometers of Crown land for the project. North Atlantic's proposal for the Come By Chance area is the 6th wind to hydrogen project that has reached this stage of development in Newfoundland and Labrador. Here now's Mark Quinn reports.
Huge opportunity in an area that's already known for its industrialization, and it's something we've been working on for some time. So it's a big day.
North Atlantic is really proposing two things. First, what it's calling a green energy hub, where hydrogen would be stored and shipped to foreign markets. This would use infrastructure that the company already owns in the area. The second part is a wind farm that would harness energy to create hydrogen. The company isn't saying how many wind turbines it will need, but it is saying they'll be big, as tall as 120 meters, twice as big as these ones, and almost twice as tall as the Confederation Building. Many things must happen before the project proceeds, but today the Energy Minister, sporting a shiner from a mishap at the pool, said one hurdle has been cleared.
Today's announcement is that we're giving a wind land bid application letter to North Atlantic to allow for a wind opportunity in the Come By Chance area, as well as the development of a green hub. So what people would know is that we've had 4 proponents that were originally granted Crown land for the purposes of setting up wind hydrogen operations. We moved towards the 5th with Pattern. And today is the announcement of a 6th, being North Atlantic in the Come By Chance area.
North Atlantic now has 18 months to get ready to apply to use the Crown land. And then there must be an environmental assessment before the land is leased to the company. The Energy Minister believes this project could be very good for the province.
Overall, this is going to contribute about $500 million to the province over the lifespan of this project. It's going to contribute likely jobs into the thousands. It's going to create opportunities for people to have, renewable energy opportunities in an area where they are known and they've been working in these types of environments for years. This is something that they desire, that they want to see. So this is a good day for that area.
Of course, this project is in its very preliminary stages. North Atlantic hopes to have an environmental assessment started next year, and it hopes to have first hydrogen by 2028. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, hundreds of people gathered over this past weekend for a powwow on the Port-au-Port Peninsula. The Benoit First Nation held their traditional Mawiomi in Cape St. George. Chief Jason Benoit says it's important to have this celebration on their land.
We're at our third outside annual traditional powwow, or Mawiomi as we call it, on our grounds. First one on our own grounds. It just warms my heart to see the support. And we've had all the chiefs here as well between yesterday and today. All the chiefs of the region were here, and it was just wonderful. And we're taking stock for a list of things that we can improve on, little things that come up, and we're going to improve on those things next year. I want to see this place at some point to be a nice, beautiful provincial park with our grounds as part of it. It showcases our culture and our prayers for those that can't dance. We dance for those and pray for those that can't. That the Creator would guide us and give us wisdom, and it's about strengthening our family, because our family is not just our biological people around us, but it's everybody's community. They're all our family.
Well, St. John's has plenty of historic landmarks to visit, but there's also a place for fans of prehistoric times. We visited a dinosaur park on Thorburn Road where visitors of all ages can get up close with some of the most iconic dinos, the Stegosaurus, raptors, and even a T-Rex. right, so before we get to the weather, our apologies to the viewers out there for the technical problems we had just before the break when we were going to show you that Dinosaur Park item. So we hope to have that for you just after Ashley's weather. And it's an interesting one, so you want to stick around. The owner has really gone through great pains to make the dinosaurs look as realistic as possible, and it's kind of neat. Cool. So Ashley, how is the weather looking coming up tomorrow?
Not too bad. You know, we had a pretty beautiful day today for most areas. We did see that high cloud roll in later this afternoon, or I should say earlier this afternoon. But yeah, let's take a look at where we're sitting right now. Temperature-wise, it's pretty lovely temperature-wise. 24 degrees in St. John's this afternoon. Really, most areas are in the low 20s with the exception of Argentia, where you are sitting at 18 this afternoon, and mostly up across Labrador, anywhere in the upper teens to low 20s. Happy Valley Goose Bay, 22 degrees today. And if we take a look at what's going on right now, a few showers were rolling through Lab West earlier. Really, the trend tonight should be to clear out for most of you, and across the island as well. That high cloud coming with a few showers, it looks like, for the southwest. So you may see that, you know, over the next couple of hours. But again, for most of the evening, we should start to see some skies clearing out. Temperature-wise, still a beautiful evening out there, 22 degrees in St. John's. You factor in that humidity, there isn't a whole lot of it. It is very comfortable out there as well. It's still 23 degrees in Gander right now, Twillingate at 19, and Port aux Basques, you're sitting at 19 degrees as well. Now for Labrador, it's not quite as cool as it was yesterday, about 11 degrees in Nain and 12 in Makkovik at the moment. And your temperatures, the good news is that you're going to start to see a warm up over the next couple of days. In fact, this should be some of the coldest air that you will see this week. So there's the chance of scattered showers there. But like I said, the trend should be to clear out. And we should see that happen overnight as well across the island. It may take a little longer for eastern areas of the island to clear out by the time we get towards tomorrow morning, though. We should be seeing sunny skies for most of us, really, and temperatures overnight tonight will be quite nice. So if the skies do clear out, there is a slight chance, or there is a chance, I should say, that you'll see the northern lights. Typically, it's way past midnight and sunset now around 9:30, so you will see the potential to see those northern lights. So if you want to take a look out there tonight, like I said, somewhere between 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, they may be visible across the island, very slight chance, but they will be very low on the horizon if we do see them at all. Temperatures tonight, if you're going to plan to head out, just make sure you bundle up. 6 to 9 degrees for the northern portion of Labrador as well as Lab West, otherwise around 12 degrees. And one of the coolest nights we've seen in a little while, 10 to about 13 degrees, with the exception of the south coast and the Avalon, where temperatures should sit between 15 and 16 degrees tonight. Overall, tomorrow, a beautiful day. We may see a few showers develop for southeastern portions of Labrador. Maybe a bit of cloud cover across the Avalon as well at times, but overall it is going to be a lovely afternoon as we sit under generally a ridge of high pressure, and that will be the story as we head into even Thursday morning. So temperature-wise tomorrow, anywhere from the low to mid 20s tomorrow. Light winds as well, so it will be lovely. And again, the potential for a little bit of cloud cover in the mix there, some cloudy periods. Again, the south coast of the island may see temperatures just a tad cooler into the teens through the day, but overall through central 24, 25 degrees. Tomorrow will be dry again. We won't really see any of that humidity. That will move in as we head into Thursday. A little bit of humidity into Thursday. And otherwise for the west coast, winds 5 to 10 kilometers per hour with temperatures in the low to mid 20s. Just a beautiful day. Same thing for the northern peninsula. And again, southeastern Labrador, you may see a few showers in the mix there. Your winds will be westerly, 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. But as the day goes on, your skies should clear out. And most of Labrador back up to 20 degrees in Nain. Finally, some nice weather there. Your winds will be around 25 kilometers per hour gust max, but overall pretty lovely day. The weekend, like I said, it is going to warm up as we head towards the end of the weekend, but there is some rain in the forecast, much needed rain in the forecast for Friday. We'll talk about that coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, let's try this again, shall we? It may not be Jurassic Park, but a dinosaur park on Thorburn Road in St. John's is delighting visitors of all ages. Have a look.
We opened end of August last year, and so we had a short season last year because it was late summer by the time it started. And then our grounds turned into a Halloween adventure in October. I wanted to create something for a summer attraction in particular. And so while thinking of different things, I kind of went back in time to reinvent myself, and I went so far back, I found dinosaurs. Over the years, myself and my wife would take our kids to other dinosaur parks in the States and different parts of Canada, and I was never overly impressed with the quality of the dinosaurs or the movements, but I did find a supplier who was willing to listen to my ideas and kind of customize some features to my liking. The material is a rubber silicone, like it's soft to the touch. It's not hard plastic. So that's one thing. But the movements, like the customizing of the movements, like if you notice any of the T-Rex behind me, his head kind of goes back and forth, and he's not just robotic looking. He's got movements that you would think is of a real dinosaur.
I thought they're going to be smaller than they were, but when I got here, they're really big and really lifelike.
They look more like you'd imagine them to be size-wise.
Almost like you're walking through a movie.
Yeah.
Right. So.
It's just like, especially watching like some of these here, they're so big and they're so animated. It's like the one there in the trees.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. It's like you're walking up to a movie scene. Yeah. When he's raising his head and he's growling and it's awesome. I heard about them last summer, I think it was actually. A friend of mine was in here with her kids, and it looked really interesting. Of course, loving the Jurassic Park movies and everything.
Yeah.
And
we love dinosaurs, so.
Yeah. Just the thought of them roaming around so long ago, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'd do if I bumped into one of them today.
That's right.
Kind of thing, They're huge, they're very intimidating.
So we didn't bring no kids, just us. We're big kids for dinosaurs, I guess.
It's very surprising, but it's getting more common to see adults only walk through. Sometimes I joke, if I see adults coming with a little infant who's probably way too young to understand what we have here behind us, I joke with to say you didn't have to bring children with you just as an excuse to come see them yourselves. And they sometimes admit that they wanted to see it themselves, the baby's too young. But we're getting people coming like 3 generations at one time. You get the baby, mom and dad, and nan and pop. So it's a family affair. I like asking people what was your favorite one, and pretty much every dinosaur that's mentioned throughout the day has been their favorite one. Triceratops, Brontosaurus, T-Rex are probably the most common ones that people love. And people are just totally amazed. I mean, we've had people that have been back here 3 or 4 times already in the short time we've been open. So that's great that people like it enough that they're going to come back more than once.
It's pretty neat. Well, graffiti is a growing problem in downtown St. John's, and it's showing up in the suburbs too. A pair of teenagers who call themselves the Scrub Squad is trying to help because, as Here and Now's Heather Gillis reports, that vandalism is taking a bite out of the bottom line for businesses.
It's all over buildings from the bottom to the very top. On telephone poles, community mailboxes, you name it, there's graffiti all over downtown St. John's.
So right here, just a random part for some reason. Down below, we have meth tagged across at both of these. And as this is a brand new door, the varnish that was used took off the steel paint. But yeah, so that's gonna be fixed too now.
It's an expensive problem for Niall Hickey to fix. He co-owns the Newfoundland Embassy Pub and Eatery. They've been tagged, property defaced 3 times in the last year.
So say I had to get a graffiti removal done in the front of my building, there goes my full day profits, 100%. So, it's not easy. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Hickey says it makes the downtown look dirty, not the impression he wants his business to have, not the impression Anna Murphy wants her neighborhood to have either.
Oh my God, I was so tired of seeing graffiti just like around my house. I was like gonna go get paint and just like paint something myself just to make it prettier.
As a real estate agent, she says graffiti devalues properties when people buy a home.
And then they're seeing just like neglect and vandalism in the environment. They start to question, what are they going to be walking into when they walk outside of their front door?
We're here in Skylands Lane in downtown St. John's, and it's an area where there's a lot of graffiti style art and murals in this laneway. And of course, this place is not exempt to being tagged.
This duo is the Scrub Squad for Jacob Shepard, 19, and his business partner Jake Boland, 16. Cleaning up graffiti is a full-time job.
We actually just removed all the graffiti off of the windows here and over on this building over here. And yeah, we use our sensitive surface chemicals, and basically we apply them to the window and it loosens up all the paint, and then we come at it with some water and a rag or a cloth or whatever, and then it just wipes right off, just easy.
There's no shortage of work either. They've been removing graffiti since 2013, with jobs costing hundreds to even thousands of dollars.
There's a steady demand for it and never ceases. Even in the winter, people are still calling us because these people kind of don't stop. Whenever we remove something off a building, it's back again.
On pretty much every job site that we're on, there's recurring tags such as ASEC and Crow. Those are the two big ones.
But graffiti isn't just a problem in the downtown. This former restaurant on Topsail Road is covered. Even equipment on the roof wasn't spared. There's more on top of road signs, overpasses, bridges, and even the water tower here in Paradise, too. Meanwhile, police say this isn't art.
It's property crime. It's no different under the criminal code if somebody breaks out your windows, beats up your car.
The Royal Newfoundland Constabulary has made 7 arrests in 2023 for graffiti and say the problem is hurting real people.
I really ache for the small businesses in our community who are, trying to get by day and then spending a day's revenue to clean up spray paint off the windows of their business to try and make the next day worthwhile. So when you think about the impacts in our community, it can be devastating. It could be a closure of a small business. It could be somebody who can't put groceries in their fridge the next day.
Meanwhile, they've teamed up with the downtown St. John's business community to tackle it.
There's only basically one way that they can combat it, and that's the 3 R's. And that's basically record it, take a picture of it so people can see the tag, report it, send it to the RNC. Even if you don't think that they're coming, they need to have it. It helps build their cases for future events. And it also hits the statistical level, so there's more calls. That means there's more focus on the downtown area. And the final thing is, the best thing you can do is quickly as you can remove it, because graffiti, it proliferates.
Police are urging people to report vandalism, but with no end in sight, Hickey has found one thing that helps.
More cameras outside deter people a lot. Brighter lights also helps. Even putting the smile you're on camera signs around, that does deter them a lot too.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
So it's very exciting to have someone who's so experienced have that portfolio.
Reaction to the new Provincial Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions. We'll hear from the head of the Canadian Mental Health Association in this province coming up.
Details.
Well, there's both praise and apprehension from mental health advocates reacting to government's decision to create a new department dedicated to mental health and addiction. John Abbott is taking on that portfolio along with housing. And this afternoon, I asked the CEO of the local chapter of the Canadian Mental Health Association what she thinks of the move.
Well, I was tremendously excited when I heard about this news. John Abbott is a very well known to our sector. So he was actually the former CEO of the Canadian Mental Health Association Newfoundland and Labrador. So it's very exciting to have someone who's so experienced have that portfolio, and also someone who understands the community sector and the good work that the community sector can do for people with mental health and addictions concerns outside of the traditional healthcare system.
Now, there have been some concerns raised about separating this from the health department. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think it's a very interesting question. I think on the one hand, it's very exciting that we're going to be looking at mental health and addiction, substance use disorder separate from the traditional healthcare system. I know that in 2021, there were some promises from the Liberal government for a $4.5 billion transfer that was specific to mental health and substance use disorder. And we were so excited about this because we know that often when budgets are shared with health, mental health can sort of be forgotten about, especially within a system that is struggling in lots of ways, a system that's trying to modernize, that's trying to attract good people, HR issues. We know that mental health can fall by the wayside. So I think it's exciting to pull it out and treat it separately as the complex issue that it is. At the same time, I think that there are some risks to this. So often mental health and substance use disorder have been treated as the poor cousin of the traditional physical healthcare system. And so as a result, I think it would be very easy for this portfolio to be treated as a bit of a side portfolio, to not be offered the same budgetary opportunities. And so I think remaining very careful in thinking about mental health and giving it the importance that it deserves. And at the same time, mental health is health. Physical health and mental health are intimately intertwined. And so making sure that both the Minister of Health and the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions are in close communication, and we avoid any of the silos that we've seen in the past.
Would you have preferred to have seen this portfolio paired with the health portfolio?
I think that remains to be seen. I'm very interested in seeing what happens next. So we are following the example of some of the other provinces like Nova Scotia and New Brunswick that also have separate portfolios. I think there's a real possibility for a bright future here. What I would like to see next would be the focus on the community sector and what the community sector can do in terms of prevention and community building when it comes to mental health and substance use disorder. So one of the things that I often think of is that some people need a feast and some people need a snack. And there's no sense in offering someone a feast if they only need a snack, because it's very expensive and it's not what they need. And I think about that with the traditional healthcare system. So some people need access to the facility behind me, and some people don't. Some people need a more supportive community. They need to learn the basics about mental health and substance use disorder. And so I think thinking about the ways that the community sector can provide those services and can provide them much more inexpensively than a traditional healthcare system is something that I'd like to see the new minister talking about.
One concern that I heard a mental health advocate raise is the fact that this new portfolio is paired with housing in particular. And what she said was that she's concerned that that will push forward a stigma that people out there who are unhoused also have mental health and addictions issues. What do you make of that concern?
I think that concern is very prescient. I think that it's a very thoughtful thing to think about. At the same time, there is a correlation and a relationship between people who are unhoused and mental health issues and substance use issues. And that relationship goes in a number of ways. It could be that a mental health issue leads to someone being unhoused. It could be that the very stress of being unhoused leads to mental health concerns. So I think we can't ignore the relationship that that exists there, while also being very careful to not further stigmatize our unhoused communities by making claims that they're affected by issues that don't necessarily affect them. Similarly, I think when we're thinking about mental health and addictions, we need to think about the social determinants of health, and housing, safe, secure housing, is one of those very important social determinants of health. So I take that criticism. I think that it's worth thinking about, but I also think there are some benefits to pairing these two portfolios.
What benefits are those?
So those would be that this minister is going to be acutely aware of the housing issues that are facing our communities, and he's also going to be acutely aware of the effect that that can have on mental health and substance use disorder. And so hopefully we start to look at solutions that take all of those things and more into account, and really think about the social determinants of health and the impact that those have on mental health and substance use disorder.
Well, for people living near the coastline, climate change can be of particular concern. Many have found ways to adapt or risk losing everything as wild changes in weather become more common. Freelance reporter Leila Baudouin has been keeping track of extreme weather events in Western Newfoundland for the past 2.5 years. Her Her documentary, All Eyes on the Water, will air for the first time tomorrow evening on Here and Now, and Layla joins me now to talk about the film. So, Layla, what will people see in the documentary?
It starts with a storm. I was home in my hometown of Port Saunders Christmas Eve in 2022, and as a video journalist, you get that instinct. Storms are not uncommon around here, but this one packed a stronger punch, strong enough that it got me out of bed and onto the waterfront to start filming. So I filmed this storm. That day, it was all hands on deck down on the waterfront in this community as fishermen were trying to save their sheds during a wild and violent storm surge. So I captured that, not really knowing what I would do with it. But then these storms continued along the coast, and I just kept filming them. And there was a running theme of what do we do? What's coming next?
So who did you speak with for the documentary? Like, who are the main voices, and what kind of concerns did they raise?
So we start off with the two fishermen who I profiled during that first night, which is George Plowman and Boyd Gould. I remember that first night, George looks at me, his lobster traps are piled on his wharf, and he says, this is not going to be a very good Christmas if I lose all of this. So we continue to go back to him as he adapts to these storms. We also meet Tony Ryan, who's the mayor of Port Saunders, and he's just so great at contextualizing what we're hearing about weather and climate change. He says to me one day, you know, in the 80s, we built the wharf this high. In the 90s, it was this high. Back in 2000s, and we got to build it higher. So we're speaking to people who've spent their lives on the water, living with the ocean, and who can really give you visual examples of what they're seeing and experiencing.
Oh, I think there should have been a lot of thought gone into this stuff long before now, because I mean, we're at the 11th hour.
We're coastal communities, a lot of us, so we're facing real challenges of, coastal erosion in many of our communities.
Here in our neck of the woods, it is the sea that we are concerned about the most.
Okay, Layla, sounds like a fascinating and relevant documentary for these times. Looking forward to seeing it on Here and Now tomorrow evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
right, time for a look at the long-range forecast and jumping ahead to Thursday and the weekend. You mentioned that some rain was on the way.
Yeah, by the time we get to Friday, we have not had a whole lot of rain really anywhere across the island, over the last month, or what is it, middle of July already, or end of July already. So yeah, anyway, it's coming. Let's take a look at what's going on as we head into Thursday. So it'll be a fairly quiet day, at least to start on Thursday for most of the island with some sunshine. Same thing up across Labrador, but our next weather maker will start to move in Thursday evening, and there is a chance we'll see some showers in Lab West in that time frame. With some cloud cover moving in for the island through the day. Those showers will eventually make their way towards central Labrador as well. Now, this is a little bit disagreed upon at the moment, but for now, keeping that sunshine in there, that shower activity may sink a little bit further south, but that chance is certainly there. Temperatures are really going to start to warm up as well. This will be the warmest air, at least through this week anyway, through the work week, about 26 degrees in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, 25 even for Cartwright. And then for the island, our temperatures will be sitting somewhere in the low 20s or even mid 20s through areas of central. And again, mainly sunny skies, but those clouds will be on the increase through the day. Now, the chance of showers will develop, it looks like, by Friday morning. For most of the island, particularly the west coast, southeastern Labrador will see that as well. And areas along southern Newfoundland will see those showers through the morning as well. That will spread across the island as the day goes on, eventually seeing some clearing up across Labrador. But it will come with a bit of a cool down with those temperatures. So only sitting in the upper teens through the day. Typically, we should be sitting around 21 degrees for the island and up across Labrador. In fact, Nain typically sitting around 10 or 11 degrees this time of year, so that's even above seasonal for you, seasonable for you. Otherwise, you are going to see those showers, like I said, for the first part of the day, but the skies should clear out into the afternoon. Now, the long-range forecast after that should start to warm up, and the weekend actually looks pretty decent. Some showers maybe for the first part of the day on Saturday, but we should see the skies clear, and by Sunday, we're talking about temperature around 23 degrees with lots of sunshine. And again, our overnight lows will climb back up into the teens. Now for central Newfoundland, your overnight lows will still be a bit chilly, but you will start to see some warming as we head towards the end of the weekend with temperatures in the low 20s. Same thing for western Newfoundland. So rain really the story only on Friday. And then for Labrador, you're looking at temperatures really warming up. We could be talking about maybe even the 30s into next week. So we're going to keep an eye on that one, and your overnight lows into the teens as well. And our weather picture of the day is a great little calm, peaceful sunset. This is Goose Pond in Whitburn. Thank you to Daryl for that photo. Do you have any? You can send them to Facebook or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that's a great shot. Thank you so much for that, Daryl. And it is, I've said this before, but it is so nice to see that rain kind of mixed in with all of the sunshine. It's really quite perfect.
It is.
Considering everything that happened in Labrador West and what's happening in Western Canada right now with the wildfire situation. It's nice to see a mix of nice weather and
a little bit of rain.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Keep things damp. All right. Well, that is it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. Hope you can join us again tomorrow.